No mother, no mother should go through what I'm going through right now. No mother. To lose their child to the violent way that I lost my child. For a mother to know that their child was calling them in their need and I wasn't there for him. Do you know how I feel right now? Because I wasn't there for my son. This shouldn't have happened.
No, that's right.
This just shouldn't have happened. And we want justice for my son. Justice for my son.
Justice for Tyre.
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 Then we want to proclaim that this is the blueprint going forward for any time, any officers, whether they be black or white, will be held accountable. No longer can you tell us we got to wait 6 months to a year, even though we got a video with evidence of the excessive force and the crime. No more can you tell us that anymore, because with these 5 black officers, you all moved it swiftly.
All right, Michael. So here we are again, mourning the loss, mourning the murder of another brother, life taken at the hands of police. Tyre Nichols, 29 years old, loves sunsets, loves skateboarding. He sounded like a guy. He was our brother, but he sounded like a guy that I could have been friends with. Sounded like somebody we could have kicked it with. He's a little younger than us, obviously.
Right.
But he sounded like a real cool dude. And I say that to say that, you know, I've enjoyed getting to know him, so to speak, over the last couple of days. Because that's what I chose to do instead of watching the video, instead of becoming intimately familiar with the circumstances around his death. I have not watched the video. I will not watch the video. I know I'm not alone in not watching the video.
I haven't watched it either. I haven't watched it. I won't.
And it's a refreshing reprieve, our act of resistance even, that we, a lot of us have that we're doing here, because I mean, we don't need to see it to know what it looks like. You know, it's the stuff that our nightmares are made of. We know what it looks like. We know that it's real. We live with that trauma. We live with that fear. We live with this terror as black people in this country, as fathers, as wives, as husbands. You know, we talk about it. We don't have to talk about it. It's unspoken, let alone be traumatized by subjecting ourselves to watching it over and over, sensationalizing it even. So I decided not to watch it. I've encouraged my kids not to watch it, because, you know, when they kill one of us or kill us, they don't have to keep killing our joy or killing our peace. You know, our right to live healthy lives and joyful lives along with it. So, and you and I talked earlier, man, and I don't really know what else to say at this point. I didn't even know if I really wanted to talk about it. I mean, I've been talking about this on platforms like
your
this.
Your entire life. Your entire adult life, you've been
this.
talking about this. Yeah.
Yeah, but I was gonna say on platforms like this for years, you know, we've been talking about this for our entire lives. This conversation has been going on for decades, if not centuries, in this country. So I guess, you know, it's what else can be said? There's no magic point or articulate or profound way of saying this that hasn't already been said by some of the smartest, most thoughtful, most articulate people, whether from James Baldwin to Martin Luther King to Malcolm X, you keep on and on and on. It's like, you know, I do know, speaking of words,
to contemporary commentators as well.
To Eddie Glaude, you know what I mean? It's
like Brittany Packnett Cunningham. I mean, lots of people, on and on. Yeah.
Yeah, but I will say this about words, though. I know the word defund bothered a lot of people. Defund the police divided the Democratic Party not too long ago, and turned off a lot of people. It doesn't feel so radical today because I just don't know how much. We can get into the particulars of this very complicated. Well, complicated for some people, not complicated for black people, but this very complicated set of circumstances around Tyre Nichols' murder. But I just, you know, the idea of training and reformation and getting rid of so-called bad apples. I mean, at this point, they're just apples. They're not bad. They're just apples. You know, sensitivity training, diversity. It's like the system is rotten to its core. This system was not designed to be anything other than oppressive. You know, I've said this before. Talk about police training. It's like that's what they're trained to do. They're trained to terrorize black people. Prove to me otherwise. The statistics say so. You know, so I don't know, man. I just don't know how much calls for reform and change are going to prevent this from happening time and time again. Because God only knows how many police reports say that he was complaining of shortness of breath. Like how many? We know about this one, but we've said this a million times, man. Absent video. Remember, once upon a time, body cam footage and body cam video was supposed to be a deterrent. It was supposed to be something that would help avoid these situations.
It didn't stop, and it still didn't stop.
It still hasn't stopped. Still, nothing has stopped. Nothing's going to fix this broken system. Nothing's going to fix this broken system. It's like it's got to be thrown out. So yeah, man, I'll give you the floor, but I just. Well, it feels like it's Groundhog Day. It's the same song, different verse. It's on repeat. Yeah. So, what you got?
Well, let's share the floor. You know, I don't necessarily need to have it. Let's share it, and I'll start here. When you talk about the system, and you know if reformation, or just what will do it, or a training will do it. I agree with you, but it's almost like looking at a person who has tattoos and saying, I'm gonna deal with yourself, but I'm gonna ignore your tattoos. Meaning, the police system is the tattoo on American society. We're a violent society. Clearly, we are. We talk about, how do you talk about police and police killings and not make the connection to America's obsession and fascination with guns? And I'm not saying, this is not a gun killing. How do you make that connection? No, it's a spirit. Violence, policing. Yeah. There's a spirit of policing.
It's a demonic spirit
that takes over white officers and black officers and officers of any background and race. There's a certain spirit that takes over, and that spirit is floating over the United States of America because we keep talking about the same things over the same cycle. Some days we talk about we got to do better than this when it comes to gun violence, right? We got to do better than this. Thoughts and prayers, legislation, we move on from that. Gets quiet on that until there's another mass tragedy, mass shooting. And then with police, we got to root out the bad ones. We got to do this. We got to train better. We got to hold them accountable.
And more bad ones pop up.
And it keeps happening. So really what needs to be reformed is our perspective and our society itself. People don't want to hear that because how dare you say that about the greatest country in the world? Well, the facts speak for themselves. And even when you talk about reform, my friend Kimberly L. Kelly, she's a great reporter. She covers D.C. She covers the White House She's a White House bureau chief, actually, for the Los Angeles Times. And she's a Pulitzer Prize winner, but she wrote a story that really kind of tells you how deep this problem is. She was working on this piece, and like everybody does, like a lot of reporters do, and a lot of citizens do, they say, well, we gotta get these bad cops out of there. We gotta fire the bad cops. And she was given a tip, and she pursued it, and it turned into a great piece. Somebody told one of her sources told her, don't you know that a lot of these cops who were fired, the dust settles and they're rehired and nobody's paying attention? So getting rid of the cops and firing them is not always the end of the story. Sometimes they're fired and they come right back. They come back into the same system they were fired from.
Or just get a job somewhere else. Or go somewhere else.
Right.
Yeah.
Or go somewhere else, or go to another district. What's so heartbreaking, I mean, there's so many heartbreaking parts of this and complicated parts of this. And I know Ben Crump was getting at it in that clip that we showed. And then we put up a headline. I think the writer was Michael Jackson? I think the writer's name is. We talked about the 5 black police officers, and now there's a 6th. There's a 6th. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Michael S. Jackson. Mm-hmm. Killing of a black man is different. Mitchell Jackson, not Michael. But Ben Crump talked about it too. Like, he was getting there. He was like, wait a minute. Y'all did this quickly with black police officers, which is to suggest that it wouldn't happen as quickly with white officers. That's one part of it, Mike. But I wonder what you think of, because I can't sit here and lie to you. Now, for me, so some people say it's no different. But for me, I cannot lie to you and say it's the same. That seeing predominantly white, non-black officers attack George Floyd hit me one way, and seeing 5 black men, or hearing about 5 black men savagely beating to death another black man, that does hit me another way. And it does speak to some complication. You know it, I know you know it, and I do too. I have police officers in my family. You have police officers in your family. I know there's something different there. And these are conversations that we've had at family reunions and family dinners and just hanging out watching the game with people who are related to you, people who you love, who are also police officers and black. And it's a dynamic that needs to be discussed.
Well, police officers aren't black or white, they're blue. They're not black, white, other, they're blue. And that's a cultural commentary. As in they're their own.
You really think that though? You really think that? No, like, think about but let's personalize it for a second. Just think about the police. Sure. Just get a mental picture of the police officers that you know. Especially
no, I'm not. But
black.
I'm not talking about specific individuals. I'm talking about the institution itself. Okay, I'm talking about the culture, the system, the institution of policing in America is not. It's not different based on whether the individuals that's a part of that institution, whether they're the chief or whether they're the officers, whatever, are black or white. I mean, they're a separate. I've said this before. Oftentimes, the police are the most protected and served group of people in this country, okay? Because I also said this, defund was not the trigger, police was, okay? And so when I say they're blue, I mean, it's like, I think what's not complicated for black people is that the relationship between the police force and the black community, there is no difference in that interaction, whether they're black or white. It's almost the same, Michael. And I don't think that's just exclusive to police interaction. I think in corporate America, in our everyday life, all it does is set us up in media. It sets us up for disappointment. And yes, it does hit differently, to your point, when you look at somebody black and be like, brother, and they're like, no, You know what I'm saying? It's like that. What do you think? I mean, there's a reason why there's a phrase, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. We all know that. You know what I mean? And so it's like, so what I'm saying is it's like, it's not complicated for black people because all black people know, and many black people have had encounters to support this, that if you're expecting a break, if you're expecting to be treated differently because you happen to be black along with the officer, no, and that's what Baldwin was talking about. In fact, sometimes
put that Baldwin quote
they treat
up
you
again.
even
That
more
Baldwin quote's
harshly.
great.
Sometimes it's worse. So yes, as black people, it may break our heart differently to see black people, black officers brutalizing and killing a black man. But that heartbreak and disappointment stems from a belief or an expectation that, oh, well, they're going to treat them differently because they have something in common because they're both black. Well, in any walk of life, you and I both know, just because you encounter an executive, a boss, a business owner, a media member, an athlete, whatever, and be like, oh, well, they're black, I'm black. I mean, white people make this mistake all the time. Okay, when they give us jobs or roles and responsibilities, and be like, oh, well, you'll relate to them.
You got the black guy.
Like, oh,
right.
Yeah, you're black, he's black. Oh, y'all should work together, or you should manage them because they're black and you can speak their language, or you have access to the athletes because you're black and they're black. It's like, so just because these cops are black, to bring it back to this situation in life or death, I think we know, but history has taught us that there should be no expectation for preferential or differential.
But
or
I
different
would say
treatment.
this, Mike. This is why it's so complicated, and that lane is true. Okay, that segment, everything you said, 100% true. But it's not the only segment. There's another segment. Let me introduce this. For example, so the police commissioner in Boston now is a black man named Michael Cox. Now look up Michael Cox, C-O-X. Look up his story, and it's interesting because he was a policeman. He was an undercover policeman pursuing somebody in Boston in the 1990s. He's black. His other cops were out there pursuing with him, but they didn't understand that he was a cop. So he was beaten savagely by his own brothers in blue. He sued the city. He won a judgment. He was out of policing for a while, out of the streets for a while, and now he's back as the police commissioner. Now, that's complicated because now he understands, wait a minute, if I don't have this badge on, if I don't have this uniform on,
I'm still
they see me just like they see you and me. But then he's also back as a part of the system. So, look, I think, and there were other police officers who said this after George Floyd, who said, oh, I'm afraid. When I'm off duty, I'm like you. I'm not sure what's going to happen to me. So I don't want to just say
in generalities, in generalizations, but I do not mean to say that all cops are bad. I guess that's my requisite. I've got to say it with every conversation. Not saying all cops are bad. I'm not anti-cop. Got to always put that out there. And there's certainly, but the institution itself is rotten. The culture around policing, to your point, it's a spirit, like you said, is rotten. Are there exceptions? Are there lots of exceptions? Do black police officers have to deal with honest, upstanding black police officers have to deal with negativity they get it from both sides. They're too black for the uniform and too blue for the community. Okay? So it's like, and there are black police officers who deal with racism within the police force, to your point.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't, so you're not black because you put on a blue uniform. That's not what I'm suggesting. I'm talking about the uniform color supersedes and transcends race. And all the things that go into, along with policing, goes beyond race, which is why you could see 5 black officers beat to death a black man. Having said all of that, the only people that it's complicated for are people who don't understand that. Because
Yeah.
what you have in this society, a society that is frightened by terms like critical race theory. Wow, that'd be so useful. Frightened by terms like critical race theory and runs from American history and is in denial about America's history and a very rotten racist foundation upon which this country and its systems are built. Okay, so the idea that 5 black officers could commit this crime is confusing for some, or not even confusing. It's convenient more than it is confusing, because you got a lot of people on the right on Fox News, which, by the way, I don't ever recall seeing a Fox News microphone in front of any of these grieving mothers. Maybe that's my imagination, or maybe I'm seeing that because I want to see it. But this is real convenient because this goes right along with their black on black crime narrative, which, for those that don't know, there's no such thing as black on black crime. Crime is a product of proximity. You do violence toward people who are closest to you.
To those who are around you, right.
But the black on black crime narrative only serves to perpetuate the notion that we are inherently violent. So the right and a lot of white people are having a field day today seeing black people beat up on a black man. But it's complicated because in a society where people, I'll just say this real quick, where people either struggle with or flat out won't acknowledge the existence of racism, how in the world do you explain to those same people who really, it's like talking to a brick wall, how do you explain to those same people that black people and other non-white people have been, can be, and will be agents of the very system that oppresses them? This system would not have persisted for as long as it has without the assistance of non-white people. White supremacy white supremacy is alive and well because it gets a lot of help. There's a lot of help. A lot of people pouring into this system.
Yeah, and think about this. I mean, this is part of the problem. I talk about the violent culture that we are, the violent culture that we have and that we live in. And there's physical violence, there's spiritual violence, there's, let's just call it cultural violence. What you just said, think about that for a second. Some, whatever their political leanings are, but let's say it's on the right. You said some are having a field day with, stop right there. The fact that you could have a field day with anything related to this lets me further know how twisted and how sick and how perverted aspects of this society are. And maybe that's part of the problem. Whether you are a white police officer or a black police officer, your view of the people that you are charged with protecting and serving. If you can't even relate to that moment that we've had together, collectively, our families have experienced this 6 times. You got 3 kids? I've got 3 kids. Mm-hmm. So I know you've done this. I've done it each time. And I do it now. I ask for permission from my cousins who have small children or families. I'll go up and I'll speak some encouragement and some dreams into the ears of a baby like I'm some mystic. But I just do that. I'll take a young life and I'll look at him. I just did it with my cousin, little cousin, about to be, he'll be 2 years old in May. And I saw him 6 months ago, and I just saw him a couple of weeks ago. I said, do you remember what I said to you when I saw you the last time? I said, there's greatness in you. There's greatness in you. Don't forget that. And who knows if he understands what I'm saying, but he starts smiling. We all look there. We look at our children from birth, and we start casting visions and dreams for our children. There's a life we want them to have. There are things we want them to experience. And so that's somebody's child. That's so basic. But there are people with guns and sticks and weapons who don't give a damn. They don't give a damn who they don't see that. They see a body. They see a caricature. They see a statistic. They see an opportunity. Right. Yes. Right. Some people do see an opportunity for that. Yeah. And so until we get beyond that, until the people holding that position, if they can't get to that point, it's like what Roxanne Gay tweeted. It will never get better. That's a simple thing. Before I hear about how you're passionate about policing and you want the job and you're fearless and you want to go out there and you want to serve, how do you see people? How do you see? Because if you can't understand that thing that I just talked about and the thing that you've done and lots of fathers and mothers have done, then you should stay away. Stay away from the job. And I know what you said it's designed to do, but let's just try to curb it a little bit. Can we curb it a little bit and keep some folks like that away from that position and that authority, that power?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you talk with Robinson or Beckham or Ava. Savannah's out of the country. I talked to Mason about it.
About this?
Even
about this
talk. Yeah, about this. Just because it's
that's
the tone
racist
more than anything.
That's racist as hell too, isn't it?
What, the talk?
The talk.
Well, yeah, but it's necessary, but it's antiquated. I was about to say it's antiquated.
Right.
Because the talk was
I'll go with that too.
Designed to save your life. Like, hey, here's what you do. That doesn't help. That doesn't matter.
Right.
And
it's called talk is tied up.
They'll give you orders to comply with, even though you can't comply with them, as we saw with Tyre. They'll
and also, would you agree?
Fun. What's that?
Would you agree, Mike, that the talk is tied up in the politics of respectability as well? And we know.
Hell yeah.
That ain't working.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how we're dressed. It doesn't matter
exactly
what
how
we
you
do for a
dress.
living.
If you got
how much money,
you got classical music on the radio, and you say yes,
right.
officer, and thank you,
right.
and I'm just
right.
trying to get home.
The entire civil rights movement, all those people getting dog sick on them, they were wearing suits coming from church.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. It does not matter what we do, and it ought to tell you what an inherently racist and white supremacist system policing is, which all is an extension, to your point, an extension of society at large, or the muscle for American society. The fact that black people feel incentivized and justified and feel like it's their right to brutalize a black body. It's like think about it. It's like, oh man, how could black people do that to another black person? That ought to tell you how deep this goes. That ought to tell you how fundamentally racist policing is. When it's like when they think that their job entails them to be able to brutalize a black body in a way that they more often than not would not a white person. Yeah, it's just. But again, it's complicated because racism is not black and white. But it's unfortunately being twisted. Like this conversation is more so than every other conversation we've had in the aftermath of a police killing. More so than every conversation. This one is definitely going nowhere because, like I said, people don't understand. People won't acknowledge the truth or won't see it for what it is when the officers are white. Do you think they're gonna see this as a sign of something bigger when they're black? Shit.
Oh,
this is if it's gonna change, rest in peace. I pray peace that transcends understanding over this man's family and loved ones. But if this is gonna change, it is not going to be because of Tyre Nichols, because of the color of the officers. This is going to be weaponized, if anything, against black people to perpetuate the notion that we are inherently violent. There's your black on black crime. Look at that. Meanwhile, if the officers were white, well, they feared for their lives. They were afraid for their lives. That wasn't racist. That was a bad apple. This is conveniently representative of something bigger.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely right. Yeah, listen, you said it. You said it. And here's this tweet. Xavier Pope. It's a great. You're saying about the police who killed Tyre Nichols are black. How's that racist crowd? Anti-blackness is cultural phenomenon.
We've lived it. We've seen it in film. It's been rapped about. This is nothing new. There are no new things under the sun. This is nothing new. So yes, Michael, you're right. It's disappointing when you see, but it's no different than if you see somebody black in, like I said, in any walk of life, in business, in media, in corporate America, in a school system, because and another part of it is we talked about this last week in another context. So many things that, like, we also can't exist as individuals. We do have that in common with police. If police get offended by generalizations, well, that's what being black feels like. Because we as individuals cannot do one thing apart from it being either a discredit or a credit to our race. We've been living with credit to our race for the longest time.
No, great.
You know?
Credit to the race.
So
that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's too black. That's not black enough. You know.
Right.
Yeah,
so that's why it hurts.
We've been there.
Because even as black people, we see black people and be like, come on, man, we got to be better than that. They aren't flawed, evil human beings. They're black people that we, not only does it hurt because we're doing it to our own. Yes, it hurts because of that reason, but it also hurts because of how it looks. Talk about respectability, which again is part of this sickness that we consciously or subconsciously, this sickness that we live with, and this concern about how we look to white people.
Yeah. If we do this, it will change. If we just say this, if they just understand that, if we look this way, if we go here, if we're not out after midnight.
The color of the offices shouldn't matter. The color of the offices should not matter, other than blue. That's what I'm saying. Again, they may be black in terms of their ethnicity, their race, or you know what they fill out on a job application. Okay, but in terms of that encounter right there, that was not 5 black officers beating a black man. That was blue. That was blue on black crime, is what that was. And that is what has to change. And the only way to change it is to dismantle it. Because it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So,
and we leave it right there. Then part 2 comes up, because as loyal, and we appreciate you, loyal viewers, loyal listeners to Brother from Another know, that our biggest fight was not over a sporting event. The biggest fight was not over anything with our families. Our biggest fight was over defund the police. So part two will come up. You said dismantle it. We'll do that in part 2. When you said off the top, dismantle the police. It was a healthy discussion. Doesn't sound all that radical. It was good though. It was like it had a lot of passion.
But we honestly we almost didn't. I told you I was conflicted about even, like, you know, discussing it much.
Having
today,
this conversation,
which is a whole nother discussion. Yeah, that discussion is a whole nother discussion.
That's part 3.
Because I'm tired, and you're tired, and we're all tired.
And I feel like,
but Michael, but Tyre Nichols is dead.
Right.
We're
That's
tired,
what I'm saying. We can't afford to be tired.
We
can't afford to be tired.
Cannot.
We just have to keep bringing it up, and something will change. I know there's a lot of defeat in the air. There's a lot of sadness. There's a lot of here we go again, and this is never going to change.
But the moral arc of the universe bends toward justice. Right?
There you go.
Yeah. All right.
Yes.
I love you, man. Give the family my best.
Love you too.
I'll see you later on.
Be safe.
All right.
All right, brother. Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget, you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.